ever get that feeling like, you're just not good enough? And it's like suddenly doing anything is just impossible?
Yeah.
Well, today we're tackling that feeling head on.
Head on. Good.
Using this episode, actually, from The Thinking Tank. It's called How to Break Free from Self-Doubt and Build Unstoppable Confidence.
Okay.
So by the end of this deep dive, we're going to try to figure out why self-doubt exists, and even better, maybe even come up with some ways to, like, kick it to the curb.
Nice.
And build some, like, unshakable confidence.
I love that. You know, what's so interesting is that the source material really dives right into the root causes of self-doubt.
Okay.
It's not just this random feeling. There are things that trigger it. And if we know what they are, we can start to fight back.
Right.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Okay, so they start with fear of failure,
Right.
which makes total sense.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But then they had this point that I thought was really interesting. They said that we're often more afraid of how we think people will react to us if we fail
Oh, interesting.
than we are of the failure itself.
Oh, wow.
It's the thought of being judged or embarrassed that really stops us.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's where our brains, like, totally play tricks on us.
Right.
Because I feel like, from, like, an evolutionary standpoint, self-doubt was actually really helpful.
Yeah, yeah.
It kept us safe
Exactly.
from, like, real dangers.
Yeah.
But, like, nowadays, that same thing that kept us safe can
Oh, yeah.
keep us, like, stuck,
Yeah.
like, in a rut,
Right.
afraid to, like, chase our dreams
Yes.
because of what might happen.
Exactly. It's no longer serving its original purpose.
Right.
And it can really hold us back.
Totally. And then
Yeah.
they brought up the comparison trap, which I think we all kind of deal with that.
Especially
over
with
that.
social media
Yeah.
this day and age. It's so easy to compare our lives to what we see online.
Right.
And it's usually just the best parts of everyone else's lives.
Yeah, it's like the highlight reel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The curated, perfect version.
Is that it?
That's not even real.
Yeah. So I'm kind of curious about this. Do you think social media is like the root of the problem with the comparison trap?
Okay.
Or is it just like, it's always been there?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I think
Has it just amplified it?
it might be a little of both.
Yeah.
The source points out that social media makes it way easier to get caught up in this idea that everyone's perfect.
Right.
But yeah, I agree with you. I think comparing ourselves to others is something we're kind of wired to do.
Yeah.
Right? It was important for survival way back when.
Right.
But it's not so helpful now,
Totally.
especially when we're trying to, achieve our goals.
Right. Right. It's like not helpful. And now it's not even, it's like keeping up with the Joneses. It's keeping up with everyone we've ever met.
Exactly. It's like keeping up with the perfectly filtered, curated versions of everyone we know.
It's impossible.
It's a setup for feeling bad about ourselves.
Right. And then the source also mentioned how past experiences, especially the negative ones, can really fuel self-doubt.
Uh-huh.
It's like our failures, big or small, turn into these self-fulfilling prophecies.
Yeah.
Have you ever felt that?
Oh, absolutely.
Like when something bad happened in the past,
Yeah.
and then it makes you hesitate
Yeah.
to try something new, even if it's completely different.
Oh, all the time. It's like our brains develop this like negative bias. Like we focus more on the things we messed up than the things we did well.
Oh, yeah.
And then those past experiences, they just like feed that self-doubt,
Right.
making us less likely to take risks.
Yeah, it's almost like our brains remember the bad stuff more clearly, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I guess it makes sense for survival,
Yeah,
but not so much for building confidence.
totally. The source also talks about perfectionism as like a huge culprit. They make this point that perfection just doesn't exist.
Right.
And if we try to be perfect all the time, it often leads to procrastination. And being afraid to put anything out there
Right.
unless it's flawless.
Oh, that's so true.
Yeah.
I've totally been there.
Mm-hmm.
Like paralyzed by
No
perfectionism.
point in even starting if it's not going to be perfect.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
But the source had this way of looking at it that I thought was really interesting. They said that self-doubt is basically a liar.
Ooh, interesting.
It makes us think we're not good enough.
Right.
When really it's just our brain trying to protect us
Protect us. Okay.
from like potential harm.
I see.
Yeah.
So it's a good intention,
Right.
but gone a little too far.
Right.
Like that overprotective parent who won't let their kid ride a bike
Oh, yeah.
because they're afraid they'll fall and get hurt.
Oh, I love that analogy.
But really, falling down is just part of learning,
Right.
part of growing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the source actually gave a pretty crazy stat
Okay.
to show what happens when we let self-doubt win.
Okay, lay it on me.
They said that people with high self-doubt spend up to 50%
Yeah.
more time procrastinating.
That's a lot of time.
That's huge.
Think about all the things you could get done
Yeah.
if you had half that time back.
Right.
It just shows that self-doubt isn't just some feeling,
Right.
It affects how productive we are, how
Yeah.
successful we are, even how happy we are.
Right.
It's a big deal.
It really is. And they had this really good story about this Sarah the artist to kind of drive home that point.
Okay.
So Sarah has this dream of opening her own art gallery, but her self-doubt is holding her back.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
Right?
Yeah.
Like she's totally terrified of rejection.
Yeah.
And she's always questioning her talent.
I see where this is going. Classic case of analysis paralysis.
Yes.
Thinking about every possible outcome.
Yeah.
So much so that you never actually do anything.
Right. But then they painted this other picture. Imagine Sarah just pushes through the self-doubt.
Okay. Yeah.
Like she knows she's scared, but she does it anyway.
I like that.
Yeah. She's not aiming for perfection.
Right.
She's aiming for progress.
It's about progress, not perfection.
Right.
Done is better than perfect.
Yes, exactly. And that actually makes me think about all those times when I was afraid to share my ideas or try something new because what if I mess up?
It holds us back.
But what if I had just embraced those imperfections?
Exactly.
And seen them as chances to grow.
It's such a powerful shift. Right. It reminds me of that Thomas Edison quote. I haven't failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work.
Oh, yeah.
It's about seeing those so-called failures as opportunities to learn.
Absolutely. And that brings us to another super important takeaway.
Okay.
Building confidence isn't about not being afraid. It's about doing things even though you're scared.
Yes. That's it right there.
Yeah.
Easier said than done, though, right?
Oh, totally.
But the source doesn't just leave us with this big idea.
Right.
They give us 5 practical things we can do to beat self-doubt.
Love that.
And build real confidence.
Lay it on me. I'm ready for those actionable tips.
Okay, number 1, challenge your inner critic.
Okay.
And instead of just believing those negative thoughts, question them.
Yeah.
The source says, ask yourself, what evidence do I have for this?
Right.
Or is this thought actually helping me?
That's such a good way to look at it. It's like putting those thoughts on trial.
Exactly. Do they really deserve to be there?
Yes.
The source also says to focus on what we're good at.
Okay. Yeah.
We spend so much time thinking about what we're not good at.
Right.
What if we flip that?
Right. Right.
Focused on our strengths.
Totally. Sometimes we just need to remind ourselves what we can actually do.
Exactly. And I love this one. They also talk about taking small, consistent actions.
Okay.
Building momentum.
Yeah.
Confidence comes from doing things, not waiting for the perfect moment.
Right.
So start small.
Okay.
Celebrate each win.
Yeah.
And keep going.
Yeah, that one really spoke to me because it makes those big, scary goals seem a lot less scary.
Right.
If you break it down into smaller steps, suddenly it's doable.
Okay.
And then each win gives you more confidence for the next challenge.
It's like climbing a mountain, right?
Right.
You don't focus on the whole thing at once. You just focus on the next step.
Right.
And before you know it, you're at the top.
And then there's visualization.
Ooh, yeah.
Which sounds kind of out there.
Right.
But the source explained the science behind it.
Yeah, it explained that our brains can't always tell the difference between something we imagine really vividly and something that actually happened.
Wow.
So if we keep picturing ourselves achieving our goals, we can actually trick our minds into feeling more confident.
That makes so much sense.
Like a mental rehearsal.
Yeah, like when you practice giving a presentation, the more you do it, the more confident you feel when you actually have to give it.
Exactly. And finally, the source talks about who we surround ourselves with.
Okay, yeah.
Our social environment has a huge impact on how we think and how we act.
Right.
If we're always around negative people, it's going to be way harder to be confident.
Right. We got to be intentional about the people we choose to be around.
Exactly. We need people who believe in us, who support our goals, and who pick us up when we're down.
Yeah, it's like you build this this positive feedback loop.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The more positive people you have around you, the more confident you become. And that can spread to other people too.
I love that. And actually, the source also had this bonus tip that I thought was pretty great. They said, ditch the whole perfection thing. Just aim for progress.
Oh, that's good.
And it sounds so simple.
It is.
But it's really freeing.
It really is. Takes the pressure off.
Yeah.
When we let go of needing to be perfect, then we can experiment more.
Right.
Learn from our mistakes.
Yeah.
And actually enjoy the process.
Right, exactly. It's like embracing that messy part of being human.
The perfectly imperfect.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that brings us to the final takeaway from the source.
Okay.
They reminded us that confidence doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah, it's a journey.
It's a journey, not a destination.
Right. Every little step we take, every action, every choice.
Yes.
It all moves us closer to our goals and strengthens our belief in ourselves.
It's about consistency, isn't it? And even when we mess up or when we doubt ourselves, we just got to keep going.
One step at a time.
One step at a time.
And they even encouraged listeners to share their experiences.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I like that.
Celebrate their progress together.
Yeah.
Which I think is really nice.
It's so powerful to have that support, that community.
Yeah.
We don't have to do it all alone.
Totally.
And when we share our struggles and our wins,
right,
we can all help each other.
Exactly. So, what does all this mean for you listening right now?
Yeah.
We've dug into where self-doubt comes from. Talked about what happens when we let it win. And we've got all these strategies now to fight back.
That's right. You've got the knowledge. You've got the tools.
Yeah.
Now it's time to use them.
To challenge those beliefs that are holding you back.
And build that unshakable confidence.
Yeah, you can do amazing things.
You really can. Sometimes you just need a little reminder.
Right.
And a way to quiet that inner critic.
Right. Exactly. And the source ended with this really thought-provoking question.
Okay.
And I want to ask you the same thing.
Hit me. What is one small step you can take today, right now,
Ooh, I like it,
to challenge that self-doubt and move toward your goals?
It doesn't have to be anything big.
Right.
It could be sending an email, signing up for a class.
Yeah.
Or just thinking about one thing you're really good at.
Exactly. Anything.
Anything at all. Just take one step.
Because remember, action is how we beat self-doubt.
That's it.
The more we do, the more confident we become.
The more we grow.
Yeah. So think about it.
Yeah. What's your one step?
What's that one step going to be? And on that note, that wraps up our deep dive on conquering self-doubt.
Yes.
We hope you found it insightful and empowering.
Empowering. Yeah. Until next time, keep diving deep.
Yes.
And keep believing in yourself.